Hey, everybody. I'm back with another student highlight, and I have Simone with us.
Hey.
Hey. Hey, listen, we have a great one here because this just goes back to why we're always talking about these four pillars, right? And pillar number two, people always, say you got to spend all this money on marketing. You got to spend all this money on marketing. And I tell them you don't. Like, there are free ways to get leads. And hence, this one that we're going to be talking about with Miss Simone, it was a driving for deals that equaled $30,000. Like, that's like a year's salary for most people.
That's right.
I mean, it really is. So Simone, thank you for making the time to do this, because these videos not only inspire me to keep doing what I do as a coach, but they also inspire other people that hear your story and they're like, man, I can go do this too, right? It's not some fairy tale that's out there, So I want to start with a question. This is always my big question I start with. And that is, at what point or where were you, or what was it? Was it a book, a video, a tape, a seminar that made you just one day wake up and say, I want to be a crazy real estate investor?
Well, I've always been interested in real estate, but I always thought about getting my real estate license, and which I never did. I'm a nail tech. I've been a nail tech for 25 years. And in 2018, one of my clients asked me if I ever heard of wholesaling, and I had no clue what it was. I did a lot of research, watched YouTube videos, but I still was scared to do it because I felt like I didn't have all of the knowledge I needed to do the deal correct. Right. So, and then in 2020, right before the pandemic, on Facebook, this ad kept popping up from the Madison County Real Estate Investor Association. And I was like, oh, Lord, is it one of those that come into the city and try to sell us a program and then they disappear? But anyway, God kept working on me to just really go ahead and go to the meeting. And that's what I did. And I met Zack. And I'm grateful for that because I decided to ask him if he had any mentor programs. And at that time, he actually offered a mentor program for the first time for wholesaling, which was a 6-week program.
Yes. It was actually the last time I
exactly right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah. That was the first
and then we went virtual.
And we went virtual. Yes. That's right.
And then we took the class. I took the class and I met my partner.
Yep.
And now we partnered up, and
you're out there making things happen.
Yes.
So let's talk. So you it's not like you came from real estate or anything.
No.
You had your own business going on over here through your nail tech business. Yes. Somebody said it, you dug a little digging, and next thing you know, you're in the middle of it, realizing, like, because I say it all the time, YouTube University makes us more confused than anything, right?
Oh, yes.
Because it's so much information, and it's like, what do I do? But you realized you needed to not only do this, but you need to do it safe. And hence why you leaned in on really
and the legal way.
Yeah, right. So that was in 2020, and here we are going into 2022. So really, you're not even talking. I mean, I want to say it was like, what, a year and a half? Because it wasn't at the beginning. It was like
it was the program we ended, I think, July, June, because we pushed it for 12 weeks because, we all had issues dealing with the pandemic and getting our work done because we was afraid to bother people calling them at that time. That was all new for us when the shutdown happened. So we pushed the program. You let us push the program from 6 weeks to 12 weeks. So we did every other week the Zoom calls. So that helped us a lot.
And so there's really been a year and a half that you've been out there really kind of digging this up. So that's amazing. I mean, that's just amazing. Because here's why I say it all the time. Most people quit in 6 months. You've heard me say that. Like, they quit in 6 months. Like, you're still out there making it happen, getting your skill sets, building the foundation, and hence why we're in a deal. So that's great. So let's talk about this deal. So this $30,000 from driving for dollars. And the best part about it is it's a free lead. You were just out driving around, and boy, you couldn't miss this deal, right?
No, no, so absolutely distressed.
just walk me through the moment of like, you're driving through this neighborhood, you see this thing and you're like, what?
We was driving around and then, nice neighborhood, and all of a sudden this absolute distressed property, 2 trucks with a trash loaded up on it, and we was like, whoa. We were like, oh my God, this is the deal. So we actually added it. We used PropStream, thanks to you, because we haven't heard of PropStream before. So we learned that in the class. So we
ultimateinvestingsoftware.com, guys. Yes. Go get a copy of it. ultimateinvestingsoftware.com.
That's all you need. So basically we did PropStream, and after we was finished driving around, we sat down, we skip traced the address, got the phone number, started calling, and my partner got the owner on the phone, and he was immediately, yes.
Okay, so let's slow down right there.
Yes.
These are like highlight case studies. So I try to break it down for people that are watching.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were driving around, just so people can visualize, like this was not in a rundown neighborhood.
No,
it wasn't like this was just another rundown house in a rundown neighborhood. So
not at all.
When you were riding around, it's a nice neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell right out. The grass was overgrown, trash was out. Somebody had just really didn't care about the property.
The garage door didn't close.
So in that moment, you wrote the address down.
Yes.
You guys went back to your office, whatever. You pulled it up on what we refer to as the Ultimate Investing Software. You got it up. You saw who owned it.
Yes.
You skip traced the owner. Am I following you?
Yes, and we checked about how much he owed on the mortgage,
what it was worth. It was there an opportunity there.
Yes. We checked the comps in the area.
You got the phone number.
Yes.
And then you called him.
Yes, and he answered.
All right. So just so
the right person answered.
So that's part of pillar 1. This is what we tell people all the time. Like pillar 1 is you don't go just run out, look at houses if you don't have pillar 1 in place. So let's just talk about your pillar 1. And as this was an intention of wholesaling, your pillar 1 was understanding market research. You're understanding the market, where would be the right area to do this in. Number 2 was having your team together, because you had other wholesalers that you were going to collaborate with on this, which is part of the team. And then there's also part of pillar 1 is having your systems in place, which is the PropStream platform that you guys used on that.
And we double checked with the realtor that we became friends, that we built a team to make sure that the comps are correct that we're looking at. Because at that time, the market fluctuated, went up and down, then it went up, up, up. So we was going to make sure, which was hard even for the realtor, to get the right price, because that's at that time, I mean, the market is still rising and you just don't know.
And it's up. You have to shorten your comps at that point. That's a good point you bring up, because when the market is like going up, you don't go back 6 months. You don't go back 3 months. You literally are looking for like the last sale that was made.
Exactly. We looked for the last 2 or 3 sales, and they were still, the 2 before that was way lower. And then the last one, that's what we went by. And then on top of that, it was like the square footage we had to make sure it's correct, because we didn't know, because the house had a basement, if that was included or not.
Right. Yeah, that's good. So that's part of your team, right? That's your pillar 1, which then led you into pillar 2, which is why we talk about pillar 2, prospect the contracts, right? It's all about your lead network, which part of lead network, doing free lead generation, is driving for dollars. So you were accomplishing that. And then it was actually getting the seller on the phone. Now, so let's go there, because this is where I want to take people next. We're in pillar 2 right now.
Yes.
Right? So you now are saying, hey, we've got him. Let's call him. He answered. Talk me through that. Like, was it a difficult conversation? Did he just come out and share his pain? Were you able to figure it out? Talk us through that.
So we actually got him right away on the phone, and my partner just asked him like, hey, we just drove by your property and we was seeing if you were interested in maybe selling your property. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So at that point, we knew that he was very motivated, because he even told us, he's like, if you give me the amount I don't know if you want me to tell the amount.
Well, it's a number, right? Like he said, give me this number. There's no reason. I mean, we can talk about it at the end.
So he started out with a very low number when we was mind blown. And he was like, if you can give me this, you can come and we can meet, and I signed a contract tonight. And we was like, oh my God. So we was like, yes, definitely. And then we tried to call.
And just so everybody understands, this was the first number that he threw out, not the final number. No. This was like the first number. He's like, yeah, pay me X and you can come have the house. Yes. So you guys are like, load up the car, let's go.
That would have been like a cha-ching for real.
Hey, look, 30,000 is still a cha-ching, right?
Yes, but that one, we was like, oh my God.
Yeah, like we done hit the golden egg here.
Yes.
So from the phone call till the time you actually got him to meet you, to sign the first contract for the first amount, what was that period?
So at first, that night, he didn't answer the phone. Then he ghosted us for about, I would say 3 to 5 days. He ghosted us, literally ghosted us. And then we was like, okay, he was motivated. So we went by the property in the evening when we knew he should be at home, and we knocked. And that's when he told us he thought about it, and he talked to
his other half.
Yes, his better half. And he said she cannot accept this offer. So then he threw a number out and asked if we can give him that. We negotiated a little bit.
The other number, so from the original offer that you guys got excited about, the next one that he wanted, what was the increase? 20,000, 30,000?
40,000.
40,000. But and so if you guys listen to that, so they still made 30,000 on this deal. If they would have got it as the original contract, that's what? $70,000 on that thing. Wow.
Yes. So, and then we negotiated it down 10,000. So, and then he just signed a contract. He didn't even read nothing. He just signed a contract. While we was walking the house, we were just talking, asking certain things, because there was mold, which was from downstairs, and it was from the dishwasher. It was leaking. It was little things that we was, looking at and trying to calculate. And then so he just signed it, and then we moved forward with that.
So let's talk about that. So that's beautiful. So we took, you did a great job explaining from prospect to contract. So from prospect to contract, you did a driving for dollars. You found it in a great neighborhood. You looked it up, you skip traced it, you got the phone number, you got him on the phone, you set the appointment, he ghosted you. Love that side of the story, which I wasn't aware of. You actually went to the house, knocked on the door, got him there, and then got the contract signed. Prospect the contract right there in a nutshell. Yes. That's awesome. So then it leads us to contract to close, which is for you guys, because you're wholesaling, you got to dig up some buyers.
Yes.
So now you've got the contract. So, and I'm assuming because you guys did pillar one ahead of time, you already had some buyers on your buyer list, and you'd already had relationships. And so, and this is a team deal, right? It's not just you, it's you and your partner was in on this deal. So, so did you guys kind of like split up and say, hey, look, you call your buyers, I'll call my buyers. Let's see how many buyers we can get out here right away.
We did. My partner created a flyer. We were just in case of backing up. If one of our buyers are not interested, we was going to start posting it on different groups on Craigslist,
which it never made it to the post.
No, the way the market is, no.
And it's in a city that you just don't find a lot of deals in.
No, especially not in that area.
Right. So you got it under contract. So let's talk about this. So it went under contract. From the time it went under contract, at what point was it when the first buyer that showed up and was like, hey, was it the first buyer that showed up that you sold it to, or was it the second, third? How did that work out?
We had about, the day after, we already had first buyers. We had buyers that was like, hey, I'm gonna give you this much. They were under what we was asking for to sell the contract. And then we just had options. And then within like 1-2 days, and we had buyers that were all around the same price. We had some that, that said they would pay more if somebody else wanted it. But because we had a relationship with one buyer and we knew that he would be the right fit for it.
Yeah. So that buyer showed up, saw the property, and you were like, do you want it? They were like, yes. And then everything just moved forward from there.
Yes. We sent him the contract that night and he signed it over the weekend.
So now let's talk about that time frame. So you got it under contract. So you got it under contract. How many days later, when you actually officially had your buyer locked in, you knew that buyer was gonna buy?
That was literally within the week after we signed the contract.
So within a 5 to 7 day period, you had that buyer ready to go. Escrow was open, buyer was ready to go. That's beautiful.
Because we was looking definitely for a cash buyer, not finance. So
we knew that was, and this deal's not a small cash buy deal. There's almost $200,000 buy, right? So so it needed to have a buyer that could be liquidity or have liquidity to be able to buy that. So that's great. So prospect to contract to close now. So now we've got our buyer in place. So let's talk about the real fun side.
Now the headache begins.
Yes. I say it in my books, my training, like pillar 3 is where deals fall apart. That's where they fall apart. And so you got a real contract, you got a real buyer, you got a real deal.
Everything went to title.
You're like, hey, this is good. Let's go to escrow and get this thing closed.
Yes.
So you get to the closing point, the first closing point, and the seller had not done their side, right? They were not moved out yet.
And he did not give the title company his social security number. He didn't give them the mortgage account number so they can get the payoff, nothing. So we actually drove around because he told us when we finally reached him that he's at this job site and it was on Slaughter Road, and we drove up there and he had lunch and we was like, look, if you want to get this deal closed, then you need to call the title company. We actually called the title company.
Yeah.
So we put him on the phone. He gave him his social, but of course the mortgage number he didn't have, so we gave him the business card of our title company. He was supposed to call, which he didn't, because the closing was supposed to be within 30 days from the day
it was supposed to be, but then it got pushed out, and then if my recollection is correct, it got pushed out one more time, right? Before it got pushed out
actually twice? 2 more times, because he loved ghosting us.
Yeah, but you know what though, this is the epitome of what I say all the time. Like, what I love about real estate is it's always different, and we're solving problems.
Yes.
Look, the bigger the problem, the bigger the payday, right? The bigger the problem, and even though the problem that this guy had to sell it was obviously, he had debt and he needed to pay things off and all of that kind of stuff.
And we knew that he was motivated.
But here's the thing. I say it all the time. There's a problem behind the problem. That was just his problem for selling it. But why would he not get it closed? Because he had all these other problems. He was obviously unattentive. He was obviously not detailed. He obviously didn't follow through. So you guys went the extra mile and did that on his behalf. You went and hunted him down. You went and found him at his job site. You made this deal push through. And so, so the first extension had to go in place, and then another extension had to go in place. And then he had a concern because he didn't have nowhere to move to, right?
Well, that was the whole time. First, because his cousin lived downstairs in the basement, that his cousin couldn't find a place, then he couldn't find a place. But it was like where he contradicted himself a lot. Because we knew he wasn't, because every time we talked to him, he said he's staying with his girlfriend, but then he said he can't find a place to stay. So we knew it was more to the story. And I'm the type of person, I went up to him and I was like, look, if there's any issues or whatever it is, you can talk to us. We are not here to just, not care about what's going on in your life. So we really had to go in a little bit deeper, and that's when he later on admitted to us that he was uncomfortable to tell us certain things, that his cousin couldn't find a place. And before the very last closing, he said he needed more money.
Gotcha. So, and then finally it got pushed out, and then a real hard close date got set.
Yes.
And thank goodness your buyer was so patient, right?
Yes.
That
yes.
goes back to communication.
That is very important, to have a good relationship with your buyer.
Yeah, because I mean, and the communication, right? Like you
yes.
were obviously communicating with your buyer, making sure they were still involved and in the deal.
Yes, and still interested, because by then it was 4 months.
Yeah. Market changes in 4 months. So,
well, 3 months actually. Well, close to 4 months. Yeah, we closed on December 20th. That's right.
So right before Christmas.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. So you get ready to close. Everybody's ready to go to closing. Contract reads the house will be turned over free and clear. No one living in the property. What is your buyer shows up to closing? What does your buyer tell you? What did they find out?
Well, first of the day before, I drove over there and it looked like nothing had been moved. We told him he can leave some of the stuff if he can't move it. So, and our buyer that morning told us the same thing. Nothing had been moved. It looked like nothing, like it would still look the same from 4 months ago. And that's when we confronted the seller, because there was the
buyer went by the house.
Yes, he drove by.
And that's an important note I want to point out to everybody. Yes. Like when there's a closing happening, you should never just assume that the selling party did what they were supposed to. You should always leave early, drive by the property, make sure things are where they needed to be, because that's what your buyer did. And your buyer showed up at closing and told your title company, said, what did he say to the title company? I'll sign this, but do not what?
Do not release the funds until everything is, that we have make sure that everything is moved off the property that needed to be moved off, and that everybody is out of the house. Because we never had a deal like that. So this was our mess up, that we should have knocked on Sunday and even in the contract to say we are allowed to walk the property to make sure that nobody lives on the property anymore and everything is removed. Which regular trash, it's fine, but it was actually 2 vehicles.
Well, and someone was still
living there. There was a dog in the house.
Yeah, dog and cat and
clothes,
and you name it.
Yes.
I remember. And so that was a great learning lesson, because right there at the end, everybody thought it was getting closed and it almost fell apart again, right?
Especially because he lied to us again and said that somebody coming to get the vehicles. And then we told him the funds will not be released until everything is what it says in the contract. That's when he started to be like, well, I don't know if they're coming. Well, can I sign the vehicles over to you guys? And that's what we did. We called the junkyards and they came and got
biggest one was this cousin of his was still living downstairs, and he was just going to sell the house and leave this cousin in the house.
Yes,
right?
The house, first of all, we couldn't give our buyer the keys because it didn't have locks. So me and my partners, we actually went and bought locks and changed the locks, and we came back because we had something to do. We came back, and while we was installing the lock in the garage, his cousin came in and said, what's going on? And that's when it all got like crazy.
He didn't even know that his cousin had sold the house.
No, but then coming to find out after my partner put the seller that night and the cousin on the phone, because the cousin told us he put earnest money down and everything. He told me and my other partner while we was changing locks. Our other partner was gone because he had a family emergency. So my partner that had the family emergency put them both on the phone, and he said he never put earnest money down. He just got pre-approved and he knew he had to move out, but he thought he can push it. And we told him that night he got to be gone, because we talked to our buyer and we told him the light's going to be turned off tomorrow. The water is turned off, and on Saturdays the crews are coming and doing demo. So he got until tonight.
But you know what, though? That's back again.
Yes.
You kept solving problems.
Yes.
You stayed in this deal all the way through it. You were like, look, I'm not walking. We're going to get this problem solved. You're getting out of here.
Yes. I was not going to mess up my relationship with my buyer. So, and it's very important. It's not just you go, that was a hard deal because you normally go, you pick up your check. But
here's the thing, it was easy on the front.
Yes.
It was hard on the back. And
on the back.
And we say this all the time, like, look, sometimes the easiest deals that you get to are always the hardest to get to close, where the ones that are the hardest to get to are the easiest to close, right? And so this was a prime example of just the seller was just in la-la land.
He was
just in la-la land. And that's why they were in the situation they were in. But needless to say, you stuck it out. You kept solving every problem they got thrown at you.
We was literally at the property 4 days in a row.
You were like a hind catcher on a baseball field. You're like, another one. I got another problem.
And the seller kept coming back after he knew he wasn't supposed to be on the property no more. And he kept coming back, and he didn't expect us to be there because we was walking, making sure everything is taken care of. Nobody's coming on the property. So day 4, after the closing, it was literally closed on a Monday, and on Thursday was the day where we handed the keys over to our buyer finally.
And funds got released.
Yes.
And so let's talk about, so that took us all through the first 3 pillars. And so pillar 4 is really about investing strategy. So this was a wholesale transaction.
Yes.
But it wasn't a normal wholesale transaction. It wasn't just to sign the contract and move on. You guys actually did a double close on this.
Yes.
And so you went in, you were able to get the seller at one contract, and then you found your buyer with another contract. Just so everybody knows, A to B, B to C, you guys were the B.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually closed on it and resold it, but you didn't use your money to close on it.
No, we were lucky.
You used the buyer's money to get the first transaction closed so that you could take ownership and sell it to your buyer.
Correct.
So this is very important. This goes back to pillar 1. Those types of transactions, you better make sure you have the right team. And part of that team is the right title company that understands A to B, B to C, double closes. And you guys obviously use one that is very investor friendly. So talk about the importance of having an investor friendly title company to especially look at this deal, right? I mean, if you wouldn't have had an investor friendly title company, they might have got scared and not wanted to close.
Yes. And that's very important, especially, the title company knew exactly what was going on. We kept them posted, and it was very important to us to build a relationship with the title company so we can be all honest about all of the things that was happening, that we asked them what to do now. So they kind of helped us. We never had something like that happening. So
right.
But that's the good thing. That's where you build relationships.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, this whole case study is such an example of all 4 pillars, right? Like having them all in place as you move through. So, well, Simone, thank you. I mean, thanks for sharing the story with people. And really, I think at the end of the day, the message that people need to get is just because you get a contract don't mean it's going to close. Like, you got to keep solving problems. You got to get it to the finish line, right? It just not
and being consistent, not just let go just because you think he's ghosting you.
Yeah.
I mean, we called from different phone numbers and everything.
Show up, knock on the door, right? Like, I'm coming for my money.
We know where you live.
Well, look, I'm gonna ask you 3 questions and then we'll wrap this up, because obviously you're like me, you're a believer in coaching. And but tell me, what was it? What made you go get, like, what was the problem and that made you want to go get coaching when you started this journey?
To me, I felt like before that, it was like YouTube. I had one where I paid for before. The mentor was in Tennessee, but it was videos, not like a Zoom call where you can ask questions whatsoever. But at that time, I still didn't know. I didn't feel comfortable to just go out. I feel like there was still, different things that I did not know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, I learned so much in your program so much. And I'm forever grateful for that. Because of all of the things, the foundation, that was the main thing, building the foundation of your team. Because if you don't have a strong team, everything will crumble.
That's so true. That's so true. That's so true.
Learning about the contracts, the A to B, B to C, all of these different options that you have. I didn't know anything about it. I never heard of PropStream before you introduced us to it.
Right.
Never knew how to really learn about comps, how to calculate and, get the right price.
Right. Well, and that's a huge part of controlling risk, right?
Yes.
It is just knowing the clear definition of what we refer to as lead intake, from communication phase to research analyze. Like, if you can communicate, that's great, but if you don't know how to research and analyze a property,
and that was my issue.
You know,
I can communicate, I can talk somebody into anything, you know me, but having the background of figuring out a deal and finding deals, and literally even when you drive around to really learn of, could this be a deal?
Right.
You know, certain things I'd be like, no. I'll look up like, no, somebody lived there. No, they just did little renovations on their house. They not want to sell. You know, when you see certain things, you know they don't want to sell.
No, I'm with you. So obviously you'd been in other coaching programs, and then you came through ours. What was it specifically that you would say that you enjoyed, or just made you comfortable, that you liked the most about how we do coaching?
First of all, it was mainly you, because of your personality. I feel like, you know, like you are like very like getting hyped. It's not boring. I did your 3-day boot camp. I did boot camps, and you would first think, oh my God, 8 hours in a boot camp. Oh my God. But with you, it seemed like time was flying by, and the knowledge, you are a real estate guru. You have so much knowledge. I say, when I grow up, I want to be like you, even if I'm older than you.
I always say, I don't know what I want to be yet. No, that's great though. I mean, you know, it is about knowledge, but I think a big part of that I try to focus on is, like, even though there's a lot of knowledge can overwhelm people if you don't know how to deliver that in an order in which they can build off of. And that's something.
And one thing I have to say too is, I came in to the Real Estate Investor Association thinking all I want to do is wholesale. Yeah. That's all I want to do. That's it. But you opened up my eyes of seeing that wholesaling might be the foundation to get started if you don't have money to start up, and then, you know, to have like money coming in while you sleep with rentals, with like, you know, I never thought about that, because wholesaling, you have to work. If you don't work, you don't make money.
That's right.
You can't go on vacation for 4 weeks unless you take your computer with you and work. So, you know, you really opened up my horizon on a lot of, in real estate, what is possible.
The wealth side, right?
Yes.
Well, I mean, Simone, then answer this last question for me. I mean, why, or what would you say to someone if you were to recommend coaching? Like, why would you tell someone, look, you need to get coaching, it does what, or this is why you should do it? Like, what would you say to that person?
Well, because I had experience from other coaches, well, actually just that one, comparing you with him is like day and night. You, first of all, are very down to earth. You keep it simple. You don't overcomplicate things. You break it down literally to the step on how to do it step by step. And that was always my issue, when there was always in between where I didn't know, now how did he get from here to there? And your coaching it's just excellent. It's just everything. You are down to earth. You are willing to help to get your students where they need to be.
Love it. Love it. Well, that says it all right there. So
that's right.
I love it. Well, Simone, once again, look, I appreciate your tenacity. I really do. I appreciate your problem solving ability. Just hearing this story, I mean, it just takes me back to what I think everyone needs to listen to this. Yeah, it's a cool title, 30 driving for dollars to 30,000. But at the end of this story, the core is don't give up. Stay in it. Right. Stay committed. Solve the problems. Keep solving the problems to get to that $30,000 payday. So,
because if we would have gave up, somebody else would have snatched that deal.
They'd have swooped right in and got it. So
yes.
So Simone, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being here and your lovely smile today. I appreciate you so much. And I am sure we'll get a lot of people who see this and get inspired by it. So yes. Thanks, Simone. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. You have a blessed day.
You too, Simone. Bye now.
Bye. Bye.